Hi, Christine.
Hi, Dean.
Okay, Christine. So you just started a hypothetical 1 year fractional CMO engagement. Okay.
Okay.
What's the first problem that most of your clients need you to start fixing? Or what's the first problem you go hunting for? Because you know that it's there, even if the business doesn't see it yet. And
Yeah.
maybe before that, tell folks a little bit about you.
Well, before that, I'm going to answer that. I'm Christine Cross. I'm a fractional CMO. I'm brought in when the CEO really wants to bridge his marketing and his sales and increase the revenue that they're
Right.
going for that joint goal, or at least I've got to bring them closer together. I founded and sold my own multi-million dollar company by doing just that. And so what I learned from that is how I process and use the process in order to help companies achieve the same thing. And I guess the thing that I find often when I'm first initially working with a client is most clients I work with need to start by syncing their marketing efforts as a big part of their business. And it's pretty common to see the marketing team actually be sort of not strategic and working for the common goal, that everybody's kind of got their own specialties. They're really good at what they do, but sometimes they're not working together towards the common goal that the CEO or the C team or C suite would have. So I really work to find the right direction and really propel that business forward. So that is the job that I often get to do when I first come into a business and take a look at everything.
Mhm. And Alina, hi.
Hi,
How about
I'm
you?
Alina.
Uh,
Um,
what problem and who are you?
I'm Alina Luchian. I'm a fractional CMO, and over the past 10 years, I've worked with teams of 15 to even one person. Um, but I've always been a SaaS girl. That's who I am. Currently, I'm doing bootstrap B2B startups and the companies in the medtech and healthcare space with a keen focus on AI, but that's not necessarily
Right.
a distributor. And whenever I join a new team, my goal is to identify whether they have problems with reputation, systems, or funnels. My background is in building procedures and branding and making sure that you have a strong foundation to deliver results. And those are the main three areas I look into in the first 30 days, I would say. After that, we can go into building everything else.
Okay, so let's like switch away from the fractional CMO for a second, and let's think about the company or specifically like the executive leadership team or the CEO, right? So if I'm the CEO and I maybe I hired the fractional CMO or brought him in, or it's like the board or someone else, but now I have for the next year anyway, I have a fractional CMO, right? How do I get how do I squeeze every last penny of value out of this CMO while I have them, right? Or if it's easier to ask it this way, how do companies waste the money that they spent on a CMO?
I love this question. Um, well, if it's just by my standards, I'll have to open with
Yeah,
that. By my standards, a good board, CEO, C suite should always be strategic and accountable to some extent, but I'll explain that a bit more. Whenever selecting a fractional CMO or a CMO in general, you need to think first of what are you looking for them to solve? Because CMOs come in very many shades and nuances. So you might want somebody that solves your gaps with the sales team. You might want someone that has specialty in building a brand or building awareness. So you need to be strategic about that and also accountable, because if you select the wrong person because they have an amazing LinkedIn or because you met them at a trade show, chances are, if things go sour,
right.
you would say that it is an industry problem, but that's not the case. You just selected the wrong person for your need. Now, one thing that I expect from the C-suite in general, as a CMO, is to have curiosity. And by curiosity, you encompass a lot of things. Curiosity about their audience, about their team, about their products, and maybe even about the way they can work. They can work with you, they can work with others. Even so often, I find that there are CEOs that are very keen into having their way, and just need executors. To those people, I say you don't need a fractional CMO. You just need a good executioning team and clarity whenever you set your goals, and that's it. And yeah, I think that sums it up. I could talk 2-3 days about it, but I'll reserve it to that.
Somebody somewhere in the world, I'm sure at this moment, is conceiving of the 3-day podcast where every episode is like 3 full days long. Right. But yeah, good point. That's not us, not today anyway. Christine, how about you? Like I mean, besides sort of sharing information or saying, hey, this is Christine, pay attention to her, right? Sort of the
Yeah,
virtual arm
right.
around your shoulder. She speaks with my authority, don't come to me anymore asking if we should run a Facebook ad, right? Kind of stuff. Like how does a company or a CEO sort of get maximum value or not waste money once they've brought on a fractional CMO?
Well, absolutely, because the CEO needs to see a fractional CMO as their strategic partner, not so much as their marketing execution person who gets, implementer. We may bring resources, we bring strategy, but we are not the person building their website. We're not the person, revamping their entire branding. We are leading that charge, but we are not that's working with teams or resources, whether that's internal or external. And I think sometimes that is a really big challenge that happens. Additionally, the CEO needs to make sure that the CMO is strategically woven into the whole C-suite team, and that they're actually going to be respected and known to be able to have the authority to move things forward. And I think that that is how a CEO gets the most out of a CMO over time. And at least I found that's the most successful way that I've been able to work with my partners.
I had a conversation late last year with a CEO. He'd been CEO of 2 different companies, and he said, "Dean, I got to tell you," because he knew that I know a lot of fractional CMOs, right, and work with a lot of fractional CMOs, and I'm not a fractional CMO. And he said, the ones that I've seen and all the ones that we've talked to, everybody seems to fall into one of 2 categories. They're the marketing edition of whoever's third in charge at finance, like take that person and say they're in marketing,
Yeah.
or it's someone who is like, damn, I'm glad she's on our side, right? And he says there
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be a lot in between.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I think what's happening here is that having spoken with so many and interviewed so many fractional CMOs and worked with so many, I said, companies tend to fall into one of 3 stages, and it's not growth stages or headcount or funding or whatever. It's there are CEOs and fractional CMOs who help you learn how to walk. There are fractional CMOs who help you learn how to run once you've learned how to walk. And there are fractional CMOs who put you in a rocket. And you have to have the right fractional CMO for the right stage. Otherwise, it looks like someone who should have been working in finance because they've got nothing interesting or useful to do for you. So I said, it's kind of a you problem before it's a them problem. And I said, that's probably true for every C-level person that you bring in. So
I like
okay,
that
Christine.
analogy. That's really good because that's right on the money.
I like the damn, I'm glad she's on our side criteria. Like if you've got,
Yeah,
if that's your CMO, you're like, oh, I'm so glad she doesn't work for our competition. That would be a disaster if we lost that. Okay, so
absolutely.
then let's look at this then. Let's move away from the CEO, Christine, and let's go into like other fractional CMOs. Okay, so let's say a friend who's also a fractional CMO says, "Hey, Christine, I just landed like a 1 year gig, and Monday is my start date. They've already got some marketing people in place. Like there's some junior people and some mid-level people. There might even be a manager, but there's no like leadership. There just might be management. That's it, right? Like, what's like the one piece of advice you can give me as far as walking into an existing team?
Oh, yeah,
What would
because
you
this
say?
can be super tricky. I mean, this
Yeah.
is such a tricky thing at times. And the thing that I've always learned, and it's worked for me, and I hope it would work for the fractional CMO that is my friend, I would advise them to make sure that they go in with the team understanding the importance of their value of what they bring, and that comes from the CEO communicating that, and then recognizing each team member's contributions, and do that right away. Like making sure that they don't feel like you're just going to come in and be that hatchet person, and that's a horrible connotation, but that's what a lot of people think when they bring in consultant type people, or someone that's fractional, that they're going to come in and turn the whole apple cart upside down, and then they're going to be out. That's not it at all. I think you have to come in and embrace the organization. You have to earn their trust, and that is one of the things on day one that is super important.
Okay. And Alina, what do you think? What else could you add to that?
I subscribe to that, and I think I'd like to add that they should probably in the first 2-3 days ask a lot of questions to the team and actually listen, but like really, really listen. What are the issues that they see? What are the bottlenecks that they've seen? How can we fix those? Because usually people that have been in the org know so much more that you could grasp from leadership, from CEOs or C-suite, or from auditing systems. So you actually need to understand if they have ideas, what are their tactics to grow the business, what did they try and failed, and why they failed, and so on. And one more thing to actually get their trust is something that I've done recently, is to actually work with them and be an advocate for their careers. Because many times juniors, generally mid-levels as well, don't know what they want to achieve with that company or with their career in general. So sitting down with them, being an advocate for them whenever there are discussions about raises or potential growth, moving across teams and so on is super important. And that helps you settle that trust in.
So let's invert that a tiny bit. Oh, I'm a writer and I just said the word like twice in a row. I'm so embarrassed.
You can always
You just
edit it.
found out that
You're
your company
human.
is
You're
bringing
human.
in. There's,
It's okay.
it's okay. It's important to forgive ourselves from time to time.
That's right. Give yourself some grace.
Okay, so Alina, you just found out you work on the marketing team. Okay, you're the junior person or the mid-level person. Okay, and you see the email or someone tells you, hey, the company's bringing in a fractional CMO for a year, right? And like I think I say this now on every episode, you go to Google and find out what a fractional CMO is. So you've never heard of this before, and then that person's going to start on Monday. You, as someone who's maybe been like with the company for years, and you handle like one small part of marketing, like what's your first move on that person's like first week or first month there, right? Like what do you do? What can you expect, or what changes should you sort of think about possibly making? I don't mean changes and leave the company. I mean like here's an opportunity with someone who's like brought in at a high level. We finally have a high level person. Like, what are my options here? What's a piece of advice?
Loaded question there. I guess it depends on the maturity of the organization. Am I the only person in the team? Will I be the only executioner? All the questions that you need to understand your context first. But one thing that I always expect from management, so probably I would expect it from a fractional CMO if that's part of their contract, because we have to discuss that as well, um, would be to be strategic and to actually understand my skill set and make the most out of it, regardless of terminology when it comes to job descriptions or anything. If they see something that they can build with me, even if I don't have those skills honed in yet, I would expect for I don't know, growth, seeing potential. I think I'm in that area of identifying the hidden gems, and I'm now projecting
Right.
my dream manager out there.
And Christine, what do you think? What advice would you give if someone said, "Hey, Christine, hey, Aunt Christine," right? I work in marketing at this company, and they just hired a fractional CMO. Like, what should I be worried about anything? What should I try to do? What's going to impress that person? How's my job going to change?
Sure,
Any
because
one of those.
right, absolutely. Because when a fractional CMO steps into the organization, you're going to have to expect some winds are going to blow of change, right? There's
Mhm.
going to be some changes, or they wouldn't have been brought in the first place, most likely. Usually, people don't hire people just for the sake of having a figurehead, and I think sometimes having, I would advise my little niece or nephew that's the marketing, coordinator type person, that they have a very specific and special role within their organization,
Mhm.
and that they need to continue to show their potential and their capabilities to the new CMO, because we all as CMOs coming in want the team to succeed. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no reason for that. At least for me, is no reason for me to be in the organization. I'm about taking the talent that's there and making the most of that talent. And maybe there is also for them to understand that there's a potential for them to end up in a different role just because it's actually a better fit and they're happier there and they're more
Yeah.
capable. And I think sometimes that is what people need to understand, is they need to be as flexible as the CMO needs to be flexible in some ways, and really work together for, and I know this sounds cliche, the common goal, but really that's what we're all there for. So once we get in that mode, then I think that makes it a lot easier, and you become a trusted person to the CMO versus somebody that's being more adversarial for any reason.
All right. And okay, so let's finish up then. I have one more question. And let's sort of go back up to the board, the executive leadership team, CEO. All right. As I think about that 1 year engagement for like a frac CMO, should I be thinking that in sort of a sprint mentality, like a 1 year sprint, or should I think of it as like this is year one of a marathon, Christine?
Well, I think that really depends on what the business needs. Because if you're looking for long term strategic alignment, then that's a marathon. If you're tackling a specific challenge or a project, then that's going to be a sprint, would be more appropriate, in my opinion. So you really have to know how to fit the pace to make it work, depending on what the requirements are from the CEO or the C-suite.
All right. And Alina, what do you think?
For sure, I think if you're looking to treat a headache or, to salvage your business, for sure, it should be a sprint. There's no question asked there. And I think it's best for both parties involved to be clear and upfront of what they want and what the goals of that engagement would be. And if you're looking for strategic, for improving your overall org's health, then for sure you should be thinking of long-term marathons and so on, because you need that stability. You need that stability for your team. You need it for
Right.
your org. You need it for your investors. All these things add up, and it's important to, again, be strategic about what you need as a business.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, for both of you for this. This has been great. Alina, we'll start with you and then close out with Christine. So, who should contact you and how should they get in touch with you?
They should reach out via my email that's highlighted on the screen, hello@alinaluchian.com. And any business founder or C-suite manager that needs a fractional CMO, helping them to establish their brand, to grow their business, and take it from idea and concept to an actually figure making business in the AI healthcare or in the medtech space should reach out.
And Christine, how about you? Who should contact you and how should they get in touch?
Yeah, so either owners, founders, CEOs, or a C-suite that has been assigned to that task of finding someone that can
Right.
come join their team as a fractional CMO. Those people are the people that I talk to every single day. And then also they can reach me via my website at www.elevatebiz, that's with a Z.io, and just go right on there. There's a place to click on it. They can set up a consultation meeting with me or an introductory discovery. Happy to spend 30 minutes with them, kind of go through some things, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I'm very industry agnostic, so I'm really not into any particular space. I currently work with e-com, I work with SaaS, and I'm also working with education and even luxury travel and retreats right now. So my my ability to work with different clients is the fun part of what I get to do. But most importantly, being that creative and bringing creative ideas and strategies and looking at how we can do things differently. So I want the people who think like that.
I just did a quick check, and this is episode 44, recorded episode 44. You are the first person to ever think to mention in qualifying like that, if as a company you've already tasked yourself with finding a fractional CMO. I don't know why, but that's never come up before. Crazy, right? Like by definition, like no one like got out of bed this morning and said, I don't know, I got to get something done. What could I do? I know, I'll find a fractional CMO. Like that'd be great.
Well, I think they want the marketing person at our level, but
Yeah.
they also, for many of the businesses, they can't afford it. It's also a very big risk for them to take on somebody full time at a very large salary and not know. But when we're fractional, under the contract guidelines, et cetera, that we may have in agreements, then they have a lot of more flexibility in there, and their risk is a little lower, honestly, than if they had hired someone full time.
Yeah, but no, you're the first
And
person to ever
costs.
call out if you're already looking, right? Or you've decided this is your step. Like now you can call me. I'm like, of course. Who else? That's great. Like everyone should say that, and I hadn't thought about it before. So there you go. Okay, so Alina, I think I talked over you a little bit. What were you gonna say?
Sorry. I was saying that it helps with costs as well for the ones that are actually looking for a fractional CMO, and getting the trust from the board, because sometimes that's also a thing. We don't have the budget to hire a full-time CMO, so maybe we can afford a fractional one that will woven in the strategy that we need to bring in the money, so we can move over to having a full-time one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Alina, for being here today. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.